Okay, welcome back everyone. Welcome to a new trading week. This is Jeff here with FXMindshift, and may the 4th be with you all this wonderful Sunday for this weekly review. So as you can see from the calendar this week, we've got quite a few red folders here that will be important to watch, specifically the ones on Wednesday and Thursday. So Wednesday we've got the FOMC statement and the press conference. Okay, so there's going to be some volatility around that. And then also on Thursday for GBP, for those of you trading GBP pairs and crosses, we've got the BOE monetary policy report, monetary policy summary, official bank rate votes, and also have this unemployment claims folder for USD that we always have every week. But these are the two big news events that we're going to be watching for this week. Okay, for GBP, also to note, we have Monday a GBP bank holiday. So I think things will probably heat up for GBP close to the end of the week because we've got a lot of GBP news towards the end of the week, right? We have the big one here on Thursday, and then Friday we have another one here towards the end of the London session here. But we can see that most of the GBP volatility is going to be centered around Thursday and Friday news, right? So let's get into it. Let's go into the DXY chart. Let's go over the monthly and do our top-down analysis as we always do. So taking a look at DXY on the monthly, you can see that there really wasn't much change from last week. Okay, we still had price basically rejecting from a monthly imbalance here, and seeing price reject from that imbalance and retracing back to the upside. So potentially coming back into this big imbalance here and maybe mitigating a swing low here, or maybe coming back here to the change of character where we saw price break all of this structure. Okay, now the order flow and the direction is still very much bearish. However, we know that for price to move lower, it has to move higher first. Okay, so the retracement that's happening, to mitigate some, points of interest here or to generate some liquidity before the move down is expected. But because this is a monthly chart, of course, it's going to take a little bit longer for that to play out. So let's take a look at the weekly chart. And let's see what's happening here on the weekly. And as you can see from the weekly, we have a swing low that is now in place because of last week. Last week, wasn't really a big move last week. As you can see, another kind of smallish candle here, but now we do have the completion of this 3-bar swing here on the daily, and the weekly imbalance here being traded into at the top of the range here last week, right? So, a couple things could happen here. We could still see price go a little bit deeper into this imbalance here before rejecting lower. We could see price go through the imbalance and then continue to reach for higher points of interest. In that case, we'd be looking for price to run up to the swing high over here. Or we could see price just basically reject from this area right now and see price go lower, right? As we've already tapped into this imbalance here, and we could very well see the next candle be bearish and just continue lower from here, right? So let's see if the daily can give us a little bit more insight to that. All right, so from the daily chart, we can see the nice swing low structure down here. Okay, so as I said, the swing low down here has now been formed and confirmed. We were looking at the possibility of price just basically rejecting this daily order block here and going lower last week, but you can see here that that did not happen. So we traded back into this swing low here that we created. Nice big engulfing candle here to see that the order flow is shifting back to the upside, but rejecting the order block here, creating a new bullish imbalance down here, which price has now tapped into and rejected from right there. And then you can see that there is a nice little target up here that I'm looking for price to run back into if we continue higher from this point, because I'd like to see price come back into the daily imbalance up here, but also to come back to mitigate this swing low that we left behind, because it's nicely overlapped here with this. If we can get up to there, I'd like to see a reaction from that level to go lower if possible. But as I said, if we do go through this level, then the bullish momentum is just basically too strong, and price wants to go higher. But if we do go higher, this is where I'd like to see a reaction lower from. Okay, so at the very least, I'd like to see if we get continuation from this nice little bounce that we got from the imbalance below, and then seeing price push up to this level right here. This is just above the 101 big figure. Okay, and so we'll see if we can get to that point right there and then a rejection lower. Right? Let's drop down to the 4-hour here, and let's see if this kind of rounds out the prediction here. Okay, so as you can see from the 4-hour, we took out this nice little level here. Okay, a sweep of the high, and then a nice rejection lower into this 4-hour inversion here. We have an imbalance that was inverted to the upside. As you can see, price traded through the imbalance, right? We never really went lower and just went through. So it acts as a support level when we come back to it, as you can see from this move right here, right? Because we can see a nice big bullish 4-hour engulfing candle here. And so I'd like to see the continuation of the momentum here to run the high that we created from this rejection, and then run to that daily point of interest above, right up here, which is above that 101 big figure level. So you can see here there's a 4-hour imbalance and order block overlapping in that zone as well. So those are the areas I'd like to see price go back up to for the dollar if we remain bullish on the week. All right, so that is my DXY forecast. Let's see how that goes and ties into Euro and GBP. So for the monthly Euro chart, as you can see here, kind of a flip of DXY as always. We have price sweeping the high up here and giving us that rejection. We saw that last week, and so a little bit of a consolidation here, but again, the retracement back into the big bullish move, so potentially mitigating the swing high over here or trading back into the change of character when we pushed up and through, breaking structure, right? Or possibly even trading as far back down into this monthly in bonds over here. I mean, that's a little bit farther away from where we are right now, so that's probably a little bit less likely, but definitely trading back into this push here in this imbalance, mitigating something over here would be a very likely possibility. Okay, so that's what I would like to see here going forward. Let's go to the weekly chart. Okay, and you can see here from the weekly, same thing. We have the 3-bar swing structure now confirmed with the third candle from last week, closing bearish here, creating that lower high. So now we have this nice little 3-bar swing high pattern here, and we are trading back into this nice little weekly imbalance just below. And that will also be covered by the swing high over here. So it's kind of overlapping here with this imbalance, which I like. So I'd like to see price go a little bit lower into here. Whether or not we see a reaction from this has yet to be seen, of course, but at the very least, I would like to see a retracement into this level here, and possibly mitigating the swing high here, or even coming back into filling in the imbalance completely. This level here would be roughly 111.50. Okay, so just below the 112, 111.50. Nice big figure, mid-figure targets. So let's go down the daily and see if there's anything on the daily we can stretch for here. Okay, swing high in place on the daily. We can see that very clearly now. After trading into the daily order block over here. Okay, and then seeing that rejection from the order block, as we can see a nice swing high formation, right? Price breaking down, giving us the lower high over here, the right shoulder of the head and shoulders pattern, and then seeing price come down into the daily imbalance here is where I'd like to see it come back to. So we do have some nice swing highs in here, right, to kind of trade back into. It also has overlapping points of interest. Okay, that would be very nice as well, right inside the imbalance. So this level here, as we said, 111.50, okay, or thereabouts, somewhere in that ballpark is where I'd like to see price come down to from where we are. It's about 150 points from where we are, so it's a decent sized move for Euro for the week if we can get it. Last week, wasn't very big move, right? Just like the DXY, we didn't get much of a movement last week. It's kind of a smallish candle, so that wouldn't be a stretch, I would say, trading down into here and hitting that target for Euro. So let's see if we get that. Right, let's drop down to the 4-hour here just to round this out. Okay, so here's the 4-hour. All right, nice liquidity target at the swing lows here. We have the nice equal lows that we formed on this little move back to the upside. Nice rejection also from that, and then creating this kind of nice 4-hour swing high here with the big pin bar rejection. So targeting the equal lows seems pretty logical. That would be the obvious draw on liquidity for me going into the week here. So underneath would be about 112.50, and then trading down into that daily imbalance and the mitigation over here, which you can see there's a nice 4-hour overlap So we can take a look right there. That 4-hour overlap sits right here in this little 4-hour imbalance that also encompasses that swing high right there. So that is a very nice target to the downside, I must say. I would like that to happen very much for you guys. If you guys are trading euro dollars and shorting, that would be my target to the downside, right? See if we can get that. But at the very least, you know, taking out the swing low structure here, the equal lows seems pretty obvious to me, right? So that is euro. Let's go over to GBP. All right, and GBP on the monthly, we can see, you know, that we had a target of price taking out the swing high, since we did see euro do that, you know, the previous week here with some force, right? We wanted to see if GBP was going to catch up or if it was lagging. Seeing that, you know, kind of divergence there without GBP hitting the highs, normally it usually means it's either a delayed reaction or it certainly is showing that GBP is weaker and that it is going to, you know, sell off. But we did eventually get up there, albeit it was a very, very, you know, small move above, just kind of like a wick above, right? So you can see from here on the high, when I look at, you know, when I move my cursor over to the candle high over here, it shows 134.34, and then the high over here shows 134.43.7, right? So just a few pips above, but we did manage to get above, and then we saw a big reaction back down. So let's take a look at the weekly, and you'll see it a little bit clearer here on the weekly right there. So if I just extend the candles out, just a little peak above, right? Took liquidity above that, and we had a nice pin bar to finish out the week here, and with a nice imbalance below as well. So I'd still like to see price come down into this imbalance. That was the target for last week. We wanted to see it come down into here, mitigate the swing high, but basically trade back into this imbalance and see if we would get a reaction higher from there, or if we would go straight through that and continue lower, right? So let's take a look at the daily chart. All right, daily chart here, we have, there's the sweep of that high. We have price basically trading below the big bullish engulfing candle here, right? So we have a little bit of a change of character happening. Just about taking that low out here would be the next logical target, and then trading further down into, you know, filling in some of these imbalances down below here is what I'd like to see. This isn't, you know, I guess these targets down here would be where I'd like to see price go, but for the most part, just like for euro dollar, like I said, taking out this swing high here, or sorry, swing low rather, the liquidity below is what I'm targeting. Okay, so this would be a nice target to the downside here at the very least, and then seeing what price will do after that. If we get a rejection or a move back up afterwards, or if we tap into some of these imbalances and move back up. But at the very least, taking out this low here below, let's see, this is about 132.30, right? And then this low here about 132. So below 132, big figure might be a nice target to reach for going down lower here on GBP. All right. Lots of red news this week for GBP, so obviously be careful. And, you know, towards the end of the week is where most of the volatility is going to be, right? Thursday and Friday, we have some red folders for GBP. There's a bank holiday on GBP Monday, right? So at the beginning of the week, GBP might not move a whole bunch, and then we might see a lot more volatility kick in, you know, with FOMC, and then for the GBP red news on Thursday and Friday. So towards the end of the week might be more where the action is if you guys are trading GBP pairs and crosses. Okay, so H4, we can see here, you know, price kind of still making its way and its descent to the downside here. Nice big swing low liquidity that I'm expecting price to run below here, and then possibly down here, like I said, below the 132 big figure. But at the very least, running this low, I think, is pretty logical. A nice drawn liquidity, right? So that'll do it for GBP. Let's head on over to gold next. Okay, and for gold, we can see here, you know, not much has changed. It's still really bullish, right? Lots of bullish momentum here. We did create that all-time high at 3,500, and we did reject from that all-time high. We still are rejecting from that all-time high, but, you know, we're in consolidation, basically. You can see, you know, the movement here has not been very big. We haven't really moved away from this little zone here. We did create, or are in the process of creating, an imbalance below if we do not go lower than this. So, you know, there's not much to go off on here on this monthly chart here. Let's go down to the weekly. And now we can see a little bit more of signs of a reversal happening, right? So we do have a 3-bar swing that has formed a nice big pin rejection at the top here, a nice bearish candle close last week. Okay, the weekly imbalance just below here that we could tap into, the weekly order block just below here that we could tap into, right? And then we can see if price wants to move up from there, continue to move up from there, because we have not seen a very strong, shift or a change of character yet, right? So, we could very well assume that price is just going to keep going higher. And this might be where price reacts and goes higher from, right? There's an imbalance here and the order block here. Those two areas we would see if price wants to bounce from either of those to go higher. But in the meantime, I would say that price wants to go down to one of those 2 points of interest at least, right? So if we go to the daily chart and we take a look at the daily, right, we can see that price is reacting to the daily order block here, but I would say that that's probably going to be run through. And then we'll see if price trading into the daily imbalances down here is going to hold or not. Okay, so this one right here would be the first one I would consider, because we have the swing high also overlapping with that imbalance. That's a very nice area to see price bounce from and go higher. If we go through this imbalance, then I'm probably looking for price to just run this low and go lower, and then take out the 3,000 mark, go back beyond 3,000, and see where it goes from there. Let's take a quick look at the 4-hour just to tie it all together here. So on the 4-hour, as you can see here, we have the nice little swing low below here. That should be the next draw on liquidity. We have a rejection of the imbalance that we formed over here, and the move down to take out the low here should continue and take out this low as well. And then we trade into the mitigation over here, that daily imbalance over here with the mitigation. That's the result I'd like to see here from this move that we see happening right now. If for whatever reason we hold the low here, I would like to see price get above this level right here. Okay, if we were going to continue to be bullish. So essentially price, could reject from, it could come back up here, reject there's a little bit more of imbalance here to fill. So we could reject that and still go lower here. But if at any point we see a price break and close back above this structure here, then that would probably likely be the move back to the upside here. And whether or not we do that before or after we take this liquidity, is the question if we're going to be continuing to be bullish here on gold. Okay, but the move right now I'd like to see from this reaction that we're seeing right now is just to move through these lows here and then seeing if we get a run to this mitigation level here for a move back up. All right, let's get over to the indices next. If you guys are trading futures, NASDAQ this week was very interesting, and we had some nice moves, nice setups to the upside here. On the monthly chart, you can see that, we are, after this big, kind of wick rejection we got, the trade back into this imbalance here was almost pretty much, inevitable, right? So trading back into here, we can see that we have very much bullish momentum still trading into this imbalance. We could see rejection here and price go lower, but doesn't seem like we're going to do that just yet. So if we go to the weekly chart, you can see here is the monthly imbalance. But if we look at the weekly markups here, okay, this swing high right here is probably likely going to be the next target. And then we could see if price wants to trade back into the weekly imbalance above here, right? And that would basically run through this monthly imbalance. So if we do that, then it's probably likely that we're going to even continue up to run out the highs. I would say that this whole big move down here was a big kind of liquidity sweep manipulation, stop trade, big manipulation lower for price to just continue to run higher and make new all-time highs. So, but right now in the near term, I would say that this target above the swing high here would be the next likely target. And then seeing after that, if we get a rejection, would still constitute a hold of the monthly imbalance. So for example, if we were to get above the high as a sweep of liquidity and then seeing it come down, reject after that, then that still basically is a hold of the monthly imbalance. We see a rejection there and price will, continue down from there. So that's probably going to be the likely scenario that I would like to see happen if that's the case. Okay, and let's go down to daily and we'll see that a little bit more clearly, I think. So on the daily, you can see here that we had this wick that we were looking for price to hold if it was going to continue to be bearish from there. Basically blew right through that. So this immediately got invalidated last week. Okay, the high over here was run as we can see right there. Okay, and now close above that high, likely going to see price run the next set of highs over here. And this, to me right now, is the next obvious draw on liquidity. So I would target this as the next draw and looking for bullish setups, retracements, manipulation lower, and then a continuation up through these highs. This level here is the 20,500 level, okay, or thereabouts. And that's where I would look for the next run on liquidity. And then seeing a rejection after that would probably be more likely. Okay, and the 4-hour chart, as you can see here, a nice clean break of structure above the 4-hour structure here. All of these, kind of manipulations lower, just basically running back through. As you can see, creating bullish imbalances all the way up. The last one over here being traded into and running through, a new one being created here. And then, I have this as the target, this 4-hour block, but really I'm looking for a price to just run out that swing high over here above the 20,500 level, right? And so that should be the next draw on liquidity, and that's where I'll be targeting for my trades and my long setups this week on NASDAQ, right? Heading on over to ES, pretty much more of the same stuff here. Okay, we have a monthly imbalance just above that we'd like to see price dip into. Now we can see the stark difference here between NQ and ES because NQ has already traded into that monthly imbalance, right? So there's a little bit of a delay here on ES. You consider that divergence as well. And so that's what makes it interesting, is because if we see price come up into this monthly ES imbalance and we see a sell-off, at the same time we may see price, take out that weekly level on NQ, whereas, and still respect the monthly imbalance here. And that will be a nice kind of bearish divergence that we'll see that, could run down quite a bit, right? A nice little bearish reaction from that. So that is what I'd like to see. So for the moment here, ES still has a little bit of catching up to do to get to that high. So the bearish momentum, won't kick in until probably after we hit that level, which is why I'm thinking that NQ will still remain bullish through this imbalance here, and and let ES here catch up with it. So let's go to the weekly chart here. All right, and I have this level here marked out on the weekly, so just above the swing high here. So taking that liquidity above that weekly swing high, but then trading into the imbalance and mitigating the swing low here that is kind of overlapping with the imbalance. So that's a very nice target and point of interest to reach for. And from there, we could see a nice bearish reaction after we tag that level, right? So that's kind of what I want to see happen. So the move up to that level is what I'm anticipating. Nice big full bullish body close candle this last week here on ES. So the momentum, bullish momentum is still there and present, right? No reason for us to believe that we should be slowing down, at least not with this weekly candle, the way it closed. Let's go to the daily chart. Okay, and more of the same here. Daily close on Friday, very strong bullish candle, right? The liquidity just above the high here, and the 4-hour, the daily order block at the top. But again, I'm looking for price basically just to run through all of this here and take out this level. So this would be 5,800, okay, or thereabouts. And that would be the draw for me to the upside. And then let's round this out here with the 4-hour. Okay, so you can see basically the same, more of the same here. Here's the swing high, immediate swing high. That's going to be the first weekly target here. And then above that, filling in this imbalance and then trading into the 4-hour order block just above. But basically, seeing price run at that high. 5,850 is a nice kind of weekly target there to the upside. And we can see the expansion to the upside to that level from where we are right now is only about 140 points or so, right? Very, very reasonable for ES to do that, right? We'll see how the news affects that as well, F1B, and you'll see if that plays a factor in the move up if we get it. All right, so that is pretty much the rundown for this week. I hope you guys found that helpful. If you have any questions on anything, go ahead and leave some comments below, and I'll be sure to try to respond to whatever questions you have. If you guys are interested in joining the VIP and trading live with me every week, I trade live with my students every Monday through Friday, and these weekly analyses are great, and I hope these are able to help you with your trades this week, and any setups that you could hope to achieve with the analysis I do today, but things can change over the week, right? Every day, things can change, charts change, price changes, right? So if you want a daily analysis and if you want a daily breakdown, and to be able to trade live with me every week, basically there is a link in the first link there that will be the VIP enrollment, and you can check us out for free for 7 days. There's a free trial, and see if you like it. If you do, you find some value in it, you stick around, and hopefully you stick with the community. If not, no harm, no foul. At least you guys get some value out of it, and you can be off on your way, and hopefully be better off because of it. All right, so that's pretty much it, guys. Check out the first link in the description if you guys are interested in that. But other than that, that is going to do it for the analysis this week. Hope you guys have an amazing trading week. I know I will be looking forward to mine, but
Feel me.